Good evening, friends and neighbors. I'm so honored to be a part of this process and to serve on the nomination committee for the association. Welcome, candidates, and thank you for applying for the Landings Association Board. Each candidate will briefly introduce themselves and will be asked 2 questions that have been previously provided to them and finish with closing remarks. There will be no formal Q&A, but candidates will be here to talk to attendees until 8:30 this evening. I would like to begin with the first candidate and the first question, Lene Kane. Please begin with a brief introduction.
First off, I want to say hi and welcome and thank you for coming out. I think part of this and doing this for the first time is bringing the community in to be able to meet us in person, which I think is awesome. As you probably have read my bio, I spent many years in international and government contracting. I've managed programs. I've done strategic work. I built teams, and I've had that. After leaving, I'm going to be winging this a little bit. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. But after leaving the professional world to raise a family, and we made a huge move from DC to Texas, I got involved with all the community activities, PTA, food banks, anything that was just something that was going to help the community, did things with our children, got them involved in community service, and just built that as part of the life. We've since moved here. We've been here for 4.5 years, have loved it. We've done what most people probably do here, buy a house, renovate a house, buy a boat, join the club, and just get involved in the community. And it's been excellent. We've seen, because not only we've been here the 4.5 years, we've also been visiting this island for 30 years. So we've had family that have been here for a while, and we've seen this island grow. It's just been phenomenal. I can remember the days of waiting at the bridge because you had to wait for the boat to go through, and now we get to just go on through. There's been all these things that have just been improvements to the island. And I think the TLA is a huge part of that, along with the other organizations here. I think that's, the other things I've done here on the island, getting involved. My first thing after getting the renovation done was join the tennis team. I'm a big tennis player. I've captained teams here. I got a call though last year, and as a tennis player, I got a call to work on the board for the Club Car Championship and be one of the directors there for course operations. Tennis player in a golfing world. Doesn't always mix, but it did. It was great. I met hundreds of people just in the course of starting, and I think I took on the job in October and going through the April tournament. I'm happy to say that I'm going to be doing it again. They may have twisted my arm a little bit. I'm joking, but I had a wonderful time doing it and meeting the community and being able to work in different organizations.
Thank you, Lene.
Thank you.
Let's try to keep it to 2 minutes. I know someone is going to be keeping time in the audience. I didn't mean to be rude, but thank you so much. Your first question, Lene, is why do you believe that strategic plans are important for any organization, including the Landings Association?
Okay. Okay, this one I am going to cheat because I do have some bulleted points here. Okay, so we have 10,000 people who live on this island. It is not just a neighborhood, it is a small city. And with that, a strategic plan helps have a clear, shared vision of how we're going to succeed in this community. I think that's extremely important. We have to be able to have a vision and a mission statement along with that. The plan, in addition to providing direction and keeping us focused on long-term goals, it's also, on how we're going to utilize our resources. We're on an island. Water is important. There are things that are just impacting us, and we're seeing this every single day, just how the resources are being used. But it's not just the resources. We also have a ton of organizations. We have the Landings Club. We have the Realty Club. We have tons of charity organizations. We have to kind of figure out how we're going to work with them, and a strategic plan helps that, so that our the Landings Association strategic plan can kind of not mimic, but also just look at and see what the club is doing what the charities need, all these things, and work collaboratively and maybe not duplicate things. So it saves money all the way around. We save resources, etc. Especially when it comes to, as we're now seeing, especially in the emails, how the roads are being impacted. I think the TLA put out a thing where there's now a collaboration on pavement between the club and the association that's saving money for all of us. The storm drains. Storm drains go around the club as well as ours. I mean, it's a huge issue, and being able to collaborate with the other organizations helps that.
Hey, Lenny, thank you.
Was that 2 minutes?
I know, 2 minutes goes quickly.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, next candidate, Julie. Please begin with a brief introduction.
Hi, I'm Julia Harrell. Most of you have read my bio, so I'm going to kind of skip over that. I moved here. I'm so happy to be here this evening and have an opportunity to be considered for the TLA board. My husband Wayne and I moved here about 6 years ago, and we absolutely love living here. I am real excited about the idea to be part of the team to help guide the Landings Association through the next 3 years. I think we can all agree that this is a really special place, and it's my goal to preserve that and just to continue to keep it a very special place. On a personal note, we have one daughter who got married this summer, and she and our son-in-law live outside of Waynesboro, Virginia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We are all huge dog lovers. Some of you know that I am a big dog lover. We enjoy being outside, and we love all kinds of music and attending festivals and concerts. So it's a little bit about me.
Thank you, that was 1 minute. Very good. Julie, your first question is, what ideas do you have to enhance our communications with residents?
Well, I am a big believer in open and transparent communications in both directions. Communication, it's not a one-sided activity, so it takes both sides. I think we should build on the improvements that we've already seen over the last few years and leverage the various methods that we have in place today. Things like the Landings Journal, the weekly news and notes, emails, our gate signs, social media, all of that. I think we need to continue to leverage it. We need to keep our ear to the ground because there could be new communications that platforms that come out. So we need to be ready and willing to embrace those if that's what works best for our residents. When possible, I'd like to see, I think we're all busy, and so sometimes shorter, more focused communications are a little bit easier for all of us to digest. However, there's still going to be times where we need to share more lengthy communications because this is a community that people do have an interest in the projects that are going on. They want to know why things have happened. They want to know what the process was. And I think with some of the larger projects, we need to go into that detail so that residents feel like they have a full understanding of what's happening. I would like to encourage all of us as homeowners to share our ideas with TLA. If we have something that we'd like to see done, we should engage. We should be engaged with the association and share that. They're not mind readers, and so that's where the two-way communication comes in here. The other thing I would like to focus on is we're all busy. We get communications. We get it through social media. We get email. All the different things. It's easy to miss a communication until you see something happening in the community and you're like, oh wow, why didn't they tell us about that? Well, chances are we were told about it. And I would just like to encourage, I want to try to find a way that we can communicate to the homeowners to say this would be your first source. This is your first go-to place if that pops to mind.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
Okay, the next candidate I'd like to introduce is Chad Street. Please begin with a brief introduction, Chad.
Is this on? Okay, good. All right. I was told to keep it brief. Try to compress your life into 1 minute. But if you've read my bio, there's one thing I didn't have room or time to mention, which is Kristen, my wife, and I are originally from Alabama. I'm from Decatur, and she's from Huntsville. So if you know anybody from Alabama, or you grew up in Alabama, you know you have to declare Auburn or Alabama. We're on the Roll Tide side. However, because I know there's a bunch of dog fans in here, our son did go to Georgia. I don't wolf like a dog, but pull for Georgia except for one weekend out of the year. Kristen and I started coming to visit the Landings almost 10 years ago, 2015. Her sister Lauren and Lauren's husband Russell live here. We fell in love with the place. After I retired, we started looking. We moved here for a house. We moved here in 2023. So relatively recently, but we have jumped into the great community here. We're active in new neighbors, particularly the international group. I play golf, I try to. Kristen is an avid angler, and she helps out with the CCA Kids Fishing Camp. She's also co-chair of the upcoming Auction Mania, 2026 Auction Mania, which is part of the Landlubbers Flea Market. The reason I raised my hand to be considered for the board is because I had a 40-year career in commercial real estate investments and across all property types and all major U.S. markets. There's lots of war stories, but I think that experience would add value to the mission of the TLA.
Thank you, Tad. Tad, your first question is, what do you think the association should be doing to sustain and strengthen our sense of community?
Oh, sorry, back to me. Hold on. Back on? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought about this one. First of all, I think we have a pretty vibrant ecosystem, if you will, of communication, between the three entities, the club, the TLA, and the Landings Corporation. We've got 2 apps, you on your phone, one for each. We get emails. There's web pages for each. So if I had to focus on one area that I'm really excited about as far as building, improving the sense of community, it's with the newly formed the Landings Community Council. This is a collaborative effort between the three organizations, the club, the company, and TLA. And to me, as a relatively new resident, it just makes sense to me that there would be this collaboration. I just think it helps enhance the value and sense of community. So I know the LCLC, the Leadership Council, is working on a website, I understand. That's fine. Another website's good. But I really think that they have an opportunity to, can't do that. I'm being waved here. Opportunity to, take advantage of this collaboration, get the word out, meet the residents where they are. The Landings Club has at least 40 organizations or clubs offer to have a representative, whether it's TLA or one of the other 2 groups, meet in one of those clubs, talk about the initiatives, and then possibly down the road be a sponsor of something like we have the Oyster Happy Hours, cook-off, that kind of thing, possibly or even just a happy hour here at the Palmetto, something like that.
Thank you, Tad. Our next candidate is Vicki McElreath. Vicki, please begin with a brief introduction.
Yeah, who's my timekeeper out there? Because I can't see them. Okay, thank you. So I've been here full-time since 2006, and I came here for 3 reasons. 1, the natural beauty of this place. 2, all the fun things to do. And 3, historic downtown Savannah, which I happen to think is a huge asset. My career included 30-plus years at PricewaterhouseCoopers. For those of you who don't know that, it's an international accounting firm, the best in the world. And in my opinion, my clients included mainly very, very large financial institutions, and I was the managing partner of our practices in the Carolinas. And since I've been here, I've been pretty busy. I've been involved with the club on their board. I've been president of the club. I've been involved with LWGA. I've been president of LWGA. I've been involved with a lot of things downtown, in particular Savannah Music Festival, and I've been the chair of the Savannah Music Festival. I'm not saying that because I want to chair the association. I'm just using that as background. I have 2 children and 5 grandchildren who love to come here and visit. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Vicki. Your first question is, we live in a 50-plus-year-old community. How important are reserves in maintaining our viability and currency?
Oh, I get the question about money. Okay, I've thought about this a lot. Here's the answer. Stuff wears out. And really expensive stuff, when it wears out, it costs a lot of money to fix it. We have something north of $65 million worth of stuff that requires maintaining and replacing that are not part of our books. So most of you, especially you've been here for a while, you know when we collect our dues, we have operating dues and we have reserve dues or capital dues. So those reserve dues are what is essential to replace all of what I call the non-sexy things on this island. I mean, some of us think that we're paying for gates and security. Well, yeah, we are. But we're also paying for roads, bridges, storm drains, lagoons. I mean, everything basically that you walk on or over, we as members of this homeowners community are responsible for maintaining that for their life. So that's why I think they're critical. And they're not getting any cheaper.
Thank you. Next candidate, Joe Nicholson. Please begin with a brief introduction.
Hi, I'm Joe Nicholson. I'm running for the TLA Board. A lot of my friends ask me which board I'm running for. You guys know that it's TLA, right? So, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I got a bachelor's of civil engineering at Villanova University in Philadelphia. Moved back to Pittsburgh, where I started in construction. Met my wife, Daryl, soon after. Eventually we had 2 kids. Now we have 7 grandchildren. I know I don't look it, but we do. Eventually, in '83, we moved to Atlanta, and I stayed there in construction and property management until I retired in 2016, which is when we moved here. And I'll tell you, I never thought I would be at the Landings. We had been here before. My uncle lived here for over 20 years. We visited him. Never thought about it. But when we saw it in 2016, we just fell in love. And we are here, and we're glad. That's it.
Great, thanks, Joe. Joe, your first question, what thoughts do you have to address the safety and security of our community in the future?
First of all, I think that I have to say we have an extremely safe and secure community. I think you all would agree. But of course, you can always improve. In terms of security, I think we're talking about crime. And the only 2 things that I know to do are either to try and stop it on the front end or try to catch the criminal on the back end. And the biggest thing that I can see that we're not doing right now is stopping pedestrian access. Maybe we have to, do a better job maintaining our fences, but maybe we're going to have to put gates in that pedestrians need a pass to walk through. I don't know how that will work, but I know it's under consideration. On the back end, The way to catch a criminal is to have him on film. And we're also considering that right now. I don't know what that's going to look like either, but I know it's under consideration. On the safety side, there are two main issues: vehicles and golf carts on the community paths. Vehicles, we've done a pretty good job. We put out the LiDAR camera. Word has gotten around. I can say I'm on the appeals committee. We used to get a whole bunch of speeding violations. Now we're down to probably one a month. So the word's gotten out there. Golf cart paths, excuse me, golf cart paths. We need to communicate better. I had an idea to put 18-mile-an-hour speed limit signs. I found out today we're going to do that. We need to put up signs to tell people that only 16-year-olds and above can drive. We need seat belts under 8 years old, and maybe we need to patrol the community paths to make sure that behavior happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is David Gould. Please begin with a brief introduction, David.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. My name is Dave Gould. Obviously, we moved, my wife and I, Tara, moved here about 16 months ago from Alpharetta, Georgia, where we raised two kids, Jacob and Jolie, who have grown up and moved out of the house. Big shout out to you for doing a great job there, Tara. Currently, I still work full-time as a Chief Financial Officer for Pyramid Healthcare, which is a behavioral health organization. I'm originally from Potomac, Maryland, which is right outside of Washington, D.C. In my spare time, I enjoy spending time with my family. My two dogs that are rescues, Thea and Scrappy. I'm a big sports guy. I love football, mostly college and professional. I really enjoy cook a lot of barbecue, which I think that goes with the football, actually. And then I also enjoy boating, and I just recently took up golf, and while I'm terrible at it, I'm having a good time getting out on the golf course. So,
You're going to be terrible for the rest of your life.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah. I mean, big shout out to Joe Plecker for doing a great job of putting up with me.
Great, thank you. David, can you discuss your views on how the association can best meet the needs of our multi-generational community?
Yeah, I think when I think about a multi-generational community, right, I think about matters that impact everyone, regardless of your demographics or your age. You know, it's public works, infrastructure, security. You have common areas that I think we all enjoy, and that add to the beauty of our surroundings. And then we have our favorite topic, covenants, right, that are in place to make sure that we have quality home values. So for instance, let's just say you come to the landings for the first time, and your impression of the landings is, you know, geez, they need new roads. The lagoons don't look healthy. For some reason, I don't feel safe. Maybe it's because there's a 25-foot alligator next to me. I don't know. But these are all things that are important. And if you had any one or combination of those things occur, you're probably not going to buy here. Or, best case scenario, you're not going to pay what you ended up paying for your house, right? So I think it's imperative that these services are included in our strategic plan that we have. It's a 3-year plan, as well as our operating budget. Second, I think about the common areas, you know, our lagoons, our marinas, even the athletic fields and the playgrounds. These are areas that we all really enjoy, and they add a lot of beauty to our environment and our community. When they go wrong, we notice. You know, earlier today there was an email that went out about the lagoons and something called an alligator weed, which I have no idea what that is, but it sounds bad. And we need to have resources available to address those items and maintain the beauty of these common areas, as well as in the future, hopefully improve upon them. And then finally, covenants, right? You know, been on a couple of HOA boards, and covenants are always a sticky subject. My view is really simple. In an organization, in a community where that's 50 years old, some of those covenants are obviously going to be outdated, right? You need covenants, though, to protect the value of the homes. You don't want to poke it out home like what happened in Lilburn, Georgia a few years back. So I recommend that we would look at our covenants periodically, maybe annually, and identify certain restrictions or rules that maybe aren't just preventing us from improving our properties or our homes in a way that would actually hurt our values.
Thank you. I will now ask the candidates their second question. Ted, what suggestions do you have for the preservation of our natural environment?
Yeah, there's many options, but I think the focus should be first on water, and then trees, and then everybody's favorite subject, deer. I'll save that one for last. On water, I'm going to go broad for a second. If you're not aware, there's a lot of pressure on the Florida aquifer, which is the Georgia coastline up through South Carolina, based on all the development that's happened over the years. So there's a pressure to reduce the usage, and fortunately, at the landings here, we only have what we call two deep wells that reach the aquifer, and we're not heavily dependent on. That's the good news. But I think our community should be a voice at the table regionally in addressing those challenges, and I think we could add value there. Within the landings, I think about the spray fields, which is where we have recycled water, and I'm willing to geek out on this stuff so you don't have to. But the spray fields have about a 20-year-old infrastructure. I just want to make sure that we are properly maintaining those, either through refurbishment or replacement. And then finally, related to water, is the current drain pipe projects that we're going through. Our drain pipes go back as much as 50 years, and those are being refurbished or replaced. It's complicated, but it's very important because of the interconnectivity between our lagoons and just our general drainage system. As far as the trees, I go back to the Leadership Council. One of the first things they've done this year is a canopy study, tree canopy study, which is just wrapping up. They collaborated with Chatham County for an ongoing tree maintenance program for the landings, which I hope to be part of as we roll that out. And as for the deer, all I can say is, oh dear, I'm being waved off again. So real quick, if you weren't at the Audubon meeting a year ago, September a year ago, you really missed something. It was quite a robust discussion. The good news is the population thinning of the deer. I think TLAs are going to reach their goal this year of reducing it by 250 and increase that to 300 next year. I don't have any other great solutions. I've researched it. Sterilization is an option, but it sounds expensive and manpower heavy. But obviously it's something we need to pay attention to.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Joe? How do we, as an association, support the enhancement of our members' property values?
Okay. We already do support the maintenance, maintaining the property values here in many ways. One is through the property maintenance standards. We have a community development department that polices those standards, and I think we're all benefiting from that when we go to sell our house so that we don't have a dump next door. We need to keep that up. We have the Architectural Review Committee that makes the homes built here and renovated here comply with certain guidelines. We need to keep that up. We need to make sure that the turnaround time continues to be quick. Another way that we support the property values is through the Landings Real Estate Company, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the TLA. They do national marketing. They bring people in. They buy our homes. They do a good job there. Another idea, however, would be, when people come to buy homes here, they often need to be renovated. What if the Landings Real Estate Company had a builder on the payroll, a former builder on the payroll, who could consult with potential buyers and say, look, this is what you can do. You can add here, you can add there, and here's what it's going to cost. I think that would increase our values because we would get better homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Vicki, in your opinion, how can we best prepare for the challenges that we may face in the future?
Well, there's lots of challenges, obviously, but the three main things I think we need to be focused on are a commitment to becoming and remaining, I should say, adequately capitalized. And that means when the association needs money to do what it has to do to maintain what we've got here, I think we need to be a little more generous in our votes. I mean, we are relatively few homeowner associations where the homeowners actually vote on their dues. In my case, or in our case, we haven't always, as a community, I don't think, done the right thing to maintain what we need to maintain to keep this place up. And the second thing is maintaining the standards that are set by our new and improved covenants. Because when you get ready to sell your house, you want it to be worth a lot of money. And without that, it won't be. And the third thing is, and this has been mentioned already by a couple of folks, is that we have a fully built out community. And we need to rethink how do we run ourselves as a fully built out community.
Thank you. Lene, how can we actively engage more volunteers in the community?
That is an excellent question, because I see this community thriving because of the volunteers that we already have here. Take the TLA, for example. The staff is minimal. It's the committees that we have tons of people on, the board, et cetera. Inclusive with the club, there are tons of committees, and it takes volunteers to do that, especially for all the events, whether it's something with the charity events or golf, tennis. We need volunteers. But it would be nice, and what I don't think we have is just that one place that we can go to for all the activities on the island, a central hub to find where the volunteer opportunities are. Something like a website, whether it's an app, but a full portal that lists everything. TLC needs this, the Goffin Led needs this, the association needs this, all the charities out there, one location for all of them. But we also have to encourage people to volunteer. We need to say, there's some people out there, and maybe it's micro-volunteerism or something, but they just want to do a couple of hours because that's all they have. They're still working. They want to dip their toes into the volunteerism on the island, but sometimes we make the needs so big that they're scared to do it. So we have to kind of think, how can someone work for an hour or two, try it out, and get the feel. I want to volunteer more, so that then they can do more time. And just to close, the other thing is a personal touch. I'm here because someone asked me. I did the club card because I got asked, and I took up the work, and I'm happy about that. And I encourage everyone else to try and just take that need and feel good about it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Julia, what is the best and most effective way the association can ascertain and support the interests of the community?
I think the first thing is just to always be open to listening in every situation. Every time you are with residents, just to engage with them and ask them, and listen to what they have to say, and to be responsive. If somebody leaves a voicemail, or somebody sends an email or something, even if it's not something that can be addressed right away, or if it's not on the it doesn't fit into the plan at the moment, to at least acknowledge and thank the person for presenting it. Because when people don't feel like that anybody heard them at all, it just discourages people from putting forward what could be just terrific ideas. Certainly, there's always going to be a need for focus groups and surveys. So I would encourage when you are selected for that, sometimes the surveys go out to all, sometimes they're just a random, but to participate in those, because that is really a vehicle that is used. And I know, like in the strategic plan, there was focus groups, and that information from us as residents, was used and considered to develop the plan. The other thing is the staff drop-ins and the board drop-ins are just an excellent opportunity to share ideas and things, because you can have a smaller group and have a dialogue that way. Thank you.
Great, thank you. David, how do you believe that we can continue to improve relationships with residents?
Well, I think, as with any relationship that's of inequality, it starts with communication and transparency, right? Like I tell my teammates, I say it's a 360-degree information exchange between parties or people, where you're not just talking to people, but you're also actively listening, and that's pretty critical. I think the TLA actually does a fantastic job of getting information out to everybody. We use social media, we use emails. A great example of it was today's email with the lagoons. It's pretty timely. I think there's a couple areas, though, that we might want to look at improving. One is the information exchange coming back to us, right? We can do some surveys and get some more feedback and check in, say, hey, how are we doing? Take the pulse of the community and the membership. And then the how we execute on that, right? So right now we're doing a great job, like I said, with emails and social media, but we're not really using text messages. And I don't know about you all, but for me at least, I tend to look at my text messages more timely than emails, right? And I tend to look at them definitely more than I do social media. I'm just not a big social media guy, I guess. But and when you do that, you can actually utilize the text messages for surveys and questions. You can do Q&As. You can insert a link that says, hey, do me a favor, take 3 or 4 minutes, go to our website, complete this survey, because it's going to be really important for us. So I think there's a couple of things that we can improve on. The other thing that really struck me was I actually went to an event last year, and I can't remember the organization. I meant to ask my wife, and I forgot to. But they had a symphony here on the island over at the Landings Harbor Marina. And what was interesting about that is there was, tables set up where you could go in and talk to the organizations that sponsored it, and it was co-branded. They talked about the mission and the strategy of the symphony, which I thought was also interesting. I think if the TLA did something like that, maybe with a charity, right, or do the symphony, obviously, maybe co-brand with the club, whatever the case may be, but you put the members in a social setting, and it gives us as an opportunity, as an association, to mingle with them, but also take a few minutes and say, hey, this is what is important, and these are strategic goals that we're working on.
Thank you. We will now finish with a 2-minute closing from each candidate. Vicki?
Oh, okay. It's not just up to the board and to the staff for this community to continue to be the premier community that it is. It requires something of all of us too. I mean, we can't offload this responsibility on somebody else. Somebody talked about volunteerism. Those things are, it's hugely important. So thank you for being here, by the way, and when you leave here, talking to your neighbors about what is hugely important. And one is, it's your responsibility to be informed. It's your responsibility to accept a fiduciary kind of mindset about the sustainability and where we be 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Somebody built it for you. We need to maintain it for somebody else. And lastly, I think it's just be grateful that we live in such a beautiful place, and let's just try to keep it that way.
Thank you. Joe?
I share a lot of Vicki's thoughts. I want this to be a a premier community for the rest of my time here. I want residents to feel that it's desirable, affordable, and a safe place to live and play. One thing I'm worried about was brought up earlier, but water, we're under a mandate not to exceed a certain amount of use every year. What if we start to go over that limit, or what if the limit is dropped? Landscaping is taking the biggest part of that. What if we have to say, we're not allowed to water our lawns anymore, like happens in other communities throughout the U.S.? This would be a big problem. I'm a proponent of smart irrigation. I bought a smart irrigation controller myself and installed it, and I cut my water bill in half. And if we did that throughout the community, we wouldn't have a problem anymore.
Me too.
The other thing that I'm concerned about is the negativity that's out there and the apathy that's out there. I learned today that only 31% of residents vote for board candidates, and I think that's deplorable. I asked my daughter, who lives here, how I can get her to be more engaged, because she doesn't read anything that the TLA puts out. And she said, I have to feel like this is a community. When I lived in Greenville, South Carolina, every Saturday I went down to the farmer's market. There was music, there was face painting for the kids, we talked to our neighbors. That's a good way to bring them in and tell them about stuff that we do and get them engaged. And I'd like to see us do stuff like that. I'm anxious to get started, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Joe. David?
Well, first of all, thanks for everybody coming tonight. I know in a great community like this, there's a lot of things we can be doing that don't include sitting in a room listening to candidates talking about HOA. So thank you for being out here tonight. It's important to be a part of this process. If I'm actually elected to the board, I'm going to bring to bear to my position about 25 plus years of financial leadership and being chief financial officer. I'm going to focus on making sure that we execute on our strategy that the association has come up with, and that our operating budget is reasonable, and that we allocate resources effectively and efficiently to address a lot of the issues that you talked about, Vicki. Aside from that, I really want to say thank you to the TLA staff. I think they've done a great job setting this program up, so thank you to everybody. And I think they do a great job on a day-to-day basis, because it's really difficult to run an organization, which is what we are. And it's a thankless job at times, but I've seen firsthand over the last weeks, these people actually care about the community, and they work really hard day to day to make sure that the place that we live in is beautiful and safe. So thank you to them, and thank you to everybody for coming out tonight.
Great, thank you, David. Lene?
How do you compete against all that? We've already said all the great things. I mean, you can't do that. This is a great community, and it takes a village to survive. I mean, it's going to take all of us, and we're just a few candidates. I think whoever you select on the stage is going to be great for this community. I would love to help participate in that. I think because of my practical experience, my professionalism, my community expertise, I can give back, but I think all of us can. And I think, as everyone's already said, it does take y'all too. It takes communication, it takes collaboration with all the organizations we have here on the island. It takes protecting our resources. We just have to be engaged. And I think y'all being out here is a proof that we are getting engaged, we are listening, we are communicating. We can just continue to improve. Thank you.
Thank you, Lene. Ted?
Hello. Yeah, I just want to also add my thanks for everybody that came out tonight. I see a lot of friends in the audience. That means a lot to me. It's been a great experience becoming part of this community. My parting thoughts that I'd like to leave with you are, again, with the experience that I would bring to the TLA. I've got experience with infrastructure, environmental remediation and compliance, the intersection between public and private property, and the rights and obligations that go with that, and lots of financial modeling. So if you read my bio, I mentioned the corporate culture I came from. It was informal, named prove polite, but basically it meant leave egos at the door, be a good listener, be a great collaborator, and act with honesty and integrity as a fiduciary, which is what this board role calls for. And then I had my own informal motto, avoid oh by the ways. This is a complicated system that we live here, you know, the TLA makes it look smooth, but avoid oh by the ways usually mean not good news. So the way to avoid oh by the ways is to identify the problems early, try to head them off or eliminate them. But things are going to arise, and if they do happen, be honest, forthright, and come, present the news with proposed solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Julia?
I'd just like to say thanks to the board and TLA for arranging for this event tonight. It is great to see you all, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and listen to all of us. I think I could add a lot to the board from my background, and I come from if you read my bio, I come from a background of customer service and operations management. I'm familiar with leading big teams, large teams, building consensus, solving a myriad of problems that arise, in the world of customer service. It was a fire minute. So I was in the health insurance industry, so you can imagine that. But anyway, I studied urban studies. That's what I graduated with from the College of Charleston. So I've always had a passion for communities. I think that this is one of the best communities I've ever lived in. I'm passionate about the land needs. I'm passionate about what we have here, and just keeping it an absolutely beautiful place, and a place where we can all just have a great life together, and just enjoy all of the bounty that we have here. So this whole process has been a pleasure, and if there's any questions, just I'm happy to talk with you when we're done.
Great, thank you, Julia. Thank you, candidates, and thank you, attendees.